What's up, guys? It's Friday, which means it's Mailbag Day, but it's also the eve of UFC 253, which takes place tomorrow night. Before we dive into some main event analysis, I know you guys had a lot of questions about the main event. Let's talk about a couple of other things. First off, Khamzat Chimaev, big topic of discussion in recent months. Combat Junkie asks, based on who's available, who can this mysterious ranked opponent be that will say yes to Khamzat? If you guys missed it earlier this week, UFC President Dana White said Khamzat won't be fighting on Fight Island. Instead, he'll be fighting in a 5-round main event when the UFC returns back to the States. He said it would be against a top 15 ranked opponent. He didn't reveal, however, who it would be. So there are a handful of options looking at the rankings. The problem is, who knows what weight class Khamzat wants to compete in? Will it be middleweight? Will it be welterweight? So I decided to pick one from each weight class. And I think if he were to stick at middleweight, Brad Tavares is the guy for him. I mean, Brad is a seasoned veteran. He's been kind of, I don't want to call him a gatekeeper because he's been perennially ranked, but I think he's somebody that's a good litmus test, a good, test to find out if Khamzat Chimaev is the real deal. So at middleweight, Tavares. At welterweight, it might surprise people, but I'm going to jump Chimaev up the rankings quite a bit. I think Michael Chiesa would be a perfect opponent. And I think that it kind of would work two ways, right? Chiesa is a known name. He's got a good personality. But I also think he could benefit from a win like this. I think he could prove himself, a top 5 guy, per se, in a lot of people's minds if he were to pick up that win. He would pick up a lot of hype. He would probably grab some of the attention away from Khamzat and make his case for a top 5 matchup. So that's who I would go with in each of those weight classes, depending on where Khamzat wants to go. Second question comes from Dat Dude Jr., who we have not heard from for a while, who asks, what are the biggest pros and cons of Bellator moving to Thursday nights? If you guys missed it, I spoke with Bellator President Scott Coker after their last event at Mohegan Sun, and he told me off camera that Thursday's Bellator's night from now on. Now that they're with CBS Sports, we should expect to see them hold all of their domestic events on Thursday. So an interesting move there. We haven't seen them move off of their Friday night or Saturday night slot in quite some time, at least for, like I said, the domestic events. I think in the pros department, they're not competing against other MMA organizations. I think that's huge. Sure, PFL used to run events on Thursdays, but they're on hiatus, and I think Bellator will, Bellator's product has a step up on PFL in terms of who watches it and the amount of viewers that they get. So I think it's a smart move in that regard. They're not competing against the UFC. They're not competing against people's weekends and going to bars whenever that type of activity resumes. So I think that's good there. On the flip side, the cons is they're going head-to-head with Thursday Night Football. It's on a weeknight. Who knows what happens when live audiences come back? I mean, weeknight MMA events have not necessarily pulled great numbers in terms of the attendance department. So they might have to reassess what their plan is in terms of live events. So I see both sides of it. I'm interested to see how it plays out, and I'm not opposed to trying something new. Last but not least, I said we were going to talk about tomorrow night's main event, UFC 253 on Fight Island. Our man John Morgan has your coverage all weekend long. And actually, for 5 weeks, he'll have coverage there as he's attending all of the events on Abu Dhabi's Yas Island. So tune in there. But let's talk about the main event. Do you agree with the narrative of precision versus power, which the UFC is pushing for Adesanya versus Costa? That question's from Duke Friday 11. I think it's an oversimplification. It's not necessarily wrong. If you just want to make a sentence to sell the fight, sure, I'm fine with it. But let's look deeper into it. I mean, Adesanya, sure, he's one of the most technical strikers perhaps in MMA history. Costa, brute force is his big thing, explosiveness, those early rounds where he comes out firing, that's his thing. No doubt about it, those are their strengths. But to say that Adesanya isn't known for his power and that Costa doesn't have technical striking, I don't think it's a fair assessment either. I think both men got to where they are because they have a good mix, and I'm excited to see how it goes down on Saturday night. So I appreciate everyone's questions. The response has been great as always. I look forward to answering your questions again next week with the MMA Junkie Twitter mailbag.